to the Challenge to Change podcast. My name is Hazel, and this podcast is all about the little changes we can all make that will have a positive effect upon planet Earth. If you're new here, welcome. If you've listened before, welcome back. The Challenge to Change podcast has been brought to you on behalf of ANSA Environmental Services. To find out more about ANSA, please visit ANSA, which is ansa.co.uk. Let's get into the podcast episode. So welcome to the Challenge to Change podcast. In this episode, I will be talking to Alison and Carol. So Alison is a colleague of mine here at ANSA Environmental Services, and Carol is one of our amazing volunteers. So we're going to be talking about textiles. So textile waste, we're going to be talking about different options to reduce our textile waste. So welcome Alison and welcome Carol.
Hi.
Thank you so much for being here. So let's start with then how we can kind of reduce our textile waste in kind of one of the most ethical ways. So if thinking about charity shops and that kind of thing is obviously a viable option here in the UK, something that we can all do. Most people have a charity shop fairly close to their house. So what kinds of textiles do charity shops usually accept, Carol? I know you're an expert on this.
They generally accept anything, really. Their criteria is clean.
Yes.
If it's rags, they prefer it to be sorted into rags by the person dropping it off first. It saves volunteers having to go through bags of clothes, but clean is the main thing.
Yeah.
If it's going into rags, they will accept torn, ripped, broken zips, because it all goes off to what we call the ragman, and then starts a different life. Anything clean will go into the shop.
So basically, obviously that charity shop is looking at those items and deciding, is it saleable, is it not. So obviously there are other options as well alongside charity shops. So we've got things like textile take back schemes, which is an option. We've got, I think, on public car parks near to supermarkets, there's clothing banks as well. I mean, I feel that perhaps in the majority of cases the charity shop is, if you like, the more ethical option, but I suppose it depends on what's easiest maybe for the individual.
I think the benefit for some people that work full time is that the clothes banks are open at any hour. Because the one thing you mustn't do is leave your bags outside a charity shop, because that's actually classed as fly tipping. Not all charity shops can then take those in because they don't know what's contained within the bags.
I'm glad that you've raised that, actually, because I think that is something that's so worth talking about.
Shops aren't supposed to take them in because we don't know what's in them. We have items that we can't accept as donations, and also if they've been out all night, then something unpleasant could have happened to them, and then you're expecting the volunteers to then sort them and then put them out on the racks.
They could be putting themselves at great risk then, which then obviously the charity shop would have big problems on their hands if that happened. But I think that is something that perhaps members of the public don't always realise. So they maybe go to the charity shop with wonderful intentions and think, right, it's not open, or maybe they've just missed it, who knows, and they leave it outside in good faith thinking that they've done the right thing, but actually it's not the right thing.
What people don't realise is that then costs the charity shop to dispose of as rubbish, because they cannot take it and open it up and sell it in the shop. So it then actually costs that company, that charity, to dispose of that donation. So it's if you are donating textiles to a charity shop and they're shut, then the best thing you can do is, if you want to get rid of them there and then, is to go and put them in a clothes bank. on a supermarket car park or a public car park or something, or put them back in your boot and take them another day when they are open.
So I suppose as well, I think, if you've got lots of things that you're wanting to pass on, so maybe you've got some children's toys, maybe you've got clothes, maybe you've got books, it's probably useful for the individual to put them in, to sort them out first before, so if they do end up in that situation where they've got things that, they've got things for the clothing banks, but they've also got children's toys, then they're really going to have to either keep it all back and do it another day, or drop some of it off in the clothing bank and then keep some of it back.
Separating out your textiles. Doing your research before and seeing which charity shop takes which items, because the one I volunteer at, we don't take any children's items, because we're just not big enough.
Yeah, you're right. That's a good point.
So, we turn them away, and one of the things that is generally fly tipped is children's toys, which is such a shame, because they could donate them to a school or nursery, a play centre. They could take them to another charity shop.
Yeah, that's
they
true.
Could put them on one of the local freebie sites.
There is so many options,
There's so many
really.
things you can do.
Yeah,
but it just takes time.
Yeah,
and you need to build up a network of contacts, so you know who takes what.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So it's worth just recapping on that.
Yeah, definitely. I think about doing that research before you take stuff to a charity shop. We were saying outside of this recording that it's so important to find out what the opening hours are of the charity shop in question, so you've got that as part of your plan, so you know that you're going to get there when they're open. And maybe if you can, maybe give them a ring, or you pop in the day before if that's not an option. Make sure you've allowed yourself time to go into the charity shop and say, okay, do you take these? Do you take these? And then have maybe a plan B maybe for some of the stuff, because I think
you can email them.
That's
true.
Really,
you can email them. They've all got email addresses. You don't even have to phone them. You can send an email and just list the things that you're wanting to drop off, and they will tell you which of those items they can't take, and then they don't generally tell you then where you can take them to. That's normally down to your own research. But if you ask the volunteers in the charity shops, they will generally know where is currently taking those items.
Kind of thing. So I suppose as well, I think for people listening, it's important just to have in mind that we perhaps can't realistically expect to be able to deal with everything we've got in one fell swoop. We've got to have that awareness that there will be a little of time taken in passing those things on in the correct way, so that we don't negatively impact on that charity. That charity hasn't then got to deal with these items that they're to sell in their particular shop. So I think you were saying that the charity shop, I believe that you volunteer at, Carol, they don't take children's clothes, is that correct?
No, they don't take children's clothes. So before COVID, they used to take everything in, and we used to have drivers that would go around to all the charity shops. They'd put a shout out for what they needed, and it would be delivered. And then COVID happened, all shops were closed, they weren't classed as a critical one, and when they reopened, we'd lost that facility. So now each charity shop will only take in what they actually physically can sell on the shop floor.
Right.
And some of them are just too small to sell lots of everything you'd imagine to find in a department store, because they're small. They're generally small footprints. You have to be careful with electronics, because they have to be pat tested.
Of course,
and that in itself has a knock-on effect, which is why charity shops don't take clothing in that needs repairing, because we haven't got the facility to repair garments. So we haven't got a team of sewers in the back room who will put zips in and repair holes.
Although if you have got some clothes that need repairing, I understand M&S have recently launched a repair service. So again, like you say,
there is that option.
Research into local community services.
Absolutely, that's a really great thing that they offer that.
And there are some repair shops that run once a month.
True. Hamilton have one.
I think Sandbach have one as well, but amongst those repair cafe type setups, there are sewers who will repair zips, such things.
So I think we're kind of going back to basics, really, aren't we? We sort of we do really need to rethink. We need to rethink our waste in general, but specifically textiles, as that's what we're talking about today. We need to rethink how we're dealing with textiles. So repairing is a really great thing. So it might well be that, you know, rather than passing it on, can't repair it ourselves, then you say that obviously there are those repair shops that we might be able to utilise. We might be able to utilise friends and family. Or obviously another thing that we can do as well is if we've got something that is damaged, we might use it maybe as a rag or something like that. You know, it's rather than going to the shop and buying some actual cleaning cloths, use something that you already have. So it is just sort of, I don't want to use that term thinking outside the box, but it is that really, isn't it?
And it's what you do with items that aren't saleable. So for example, when I finish with my cotton pyjamas, they're not saleable items. They've been worn to death. So my husband has them, cuts them up and use them as oily rags in the garage, and he never has to buy any, and that he'll use them and wash them and reuse them and
just keep going.
They just keep going, So so it's thinking, what can this be used for? If it's no longer fit for the purpose for which it's intended originally. Carol and I know a lady that make shirts that are stained, got dirty cuffs, collars on, wash the shirt, makes shopping bags out of the body of the shirt, handles out of the sleeves, and makes a perfectly good shopping bag.
Which you can keep washing and reusing, for
and it's sustainable.
Almost indefinitely,
It reduces the use of plastic carrier bags, and it's washable, reusable and biodegradable.
Absolutely. It's such an important thing to do. And I think probably, perhaps many people listening will be short on time. So I guess you've got to pick the solution that works well for you. So some people might not have the time to create, a cloth bag.
But they could get onto the Moore's Bag website, which has got hundreds of pods of people who would make a Moore's Bag out of an old shirt.
And it's throughout the country.
That's true,
throughout the world.
Yeah. So you don't need to do it yourself, you could do it that way.
Get onto mooresbag.com, find a local pod and say, do you want some old shirts that are no longer...
A duvet cover's useful as well. Sheets,
if they're stained and no longer.
You just work around the marks. You just wash them and then you just cut them out. Avoiding
those stains.
The areas that are not pleasant. But
the ultimate is if it can be recycled. So if you've got an old duvet set that's still fit for purpose, and it can go to a charity shop and it can be reused in its entirety, and it raises money for charity.
That's a really good option.
If it's stained, torn, ripped, whatever, and it's not saleable in a charity shop, then that's a great alternative, is finding craft groups.
Definitely.
There's lots of people who will gladly take use. Perhaps your next door neighbour's a decorator and would be really pleased to have a dust sheet.
Absolutely. It's asking those questions, isn't it?
Alternatives.
Ask at your local care home, because care homes are short on recreational craft items. So I also send fabric to Textiles, to Craft Home for them to make whatever out of them.
Amazing. That's really good. That's something I hadn't considered actually. Care homes, right? Okay.
Schools take them as well. So they're making bunting, or they're doing something, or plays and things.
And we had that situation not so long ago, Hayes, where you were like, what on earth can I do with an old shower curtain? And I was like, I'll have it, and made it into a sunsail in the garden.
I know, it looked amazing as well. I would have kept it, but we moved house and we had a shower screen, so we didn't need it anymore. And I thought, well, it was quite new as well. So I thought, well, I don't want to. What am I going to do with it? And I think was it slightly ripped at the top? I can't remember.
Yeah, it wasn't fit for purpose as a shower curtain, but as a sun screen sail thing, it's been brilliant. And again, to cover furniture for if you're decorating, or perhaps you want it to cover the drive if you're working on your car.
It's true.
Just a win-win, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the thing, isn't it? And I think as well, and I'm sure many people listening to this podcast are already concerned about the planet. They already care about those outcomes and doing the best for planet Earth. But I suppose when we have got something that we no longer need, it's just thinking beyond our own doorstep and thinking, well, okay, once it's gone from us, once we don't have it anymore, its journey hasn't ended there. There's still something else that's going to happen to it. So if you're putting clothes in your cycling bin here in Cheshire East, that's contamination. So those clothes are not going to end up at a charity shop. They're not going to end up being recycled because it cannot be recycled in that way. So if you do that, yes, it's gone from your doorstep. You might even think you've done the right thing, but unfortunately, in this case, you haven't. So unless that changes sometime in the future where you can recycle.
But currently in Cheshire,
as things stand, you can't.
You cannot put textiles in your black or silver bin.
You can put them in your black bin, but obviously it'd be better not to, because it'd be better if they go on and are sold in a charity shop.
In the black bin, it's not going for textile recycling.
No,
it's going
if it goes into your black bin, then it's going to go to energy from waste, which is still a great thing. However, wouldn't it be better if that t-shirt that you no longer want gets sold in a charity shop, or gets made into a Moors bag, or if it's completely kaput, it gets transformed into a rag? For the planet, that would be better.
It's all about prolonging the life of textiles.
Exactly.
And also your buying behaviours, trying to buy
that's a good point.
Environmentally friendly fabrics, sustainable. And then of course we come to cost, which is always at the forefront of everybody's minds, especially if you're going on holiday and you're taking young children and so on. But we've got too many easily disposable options.
We have.
So it's thinking about, are there things I can do when I'm in a situation where I just need to clothe my children for a holiday abroad, and then they're going to grow out of things quickly, is maybe find a charity shop that does children's clothes. Yeah. Because you only need those clothes for a week or so.
Yeah.
Potentially.
A small percentage
rather
of the year,
than
perhaps.
buying new.
Yeah.
So there are. It's changing your buying behaviours where you can. Do you always need to buy new?
Yeah, that's what we did. I mean, we've just returned. Yeah, we've just returned from a holiday abroad. Our first one actually as a family, but that's beside the point. And some of the swimwear that I bought for my daughter, so the top half, not the bottom half, was pre-loved. I didn't really feel that I wanted to get her pre-loved swim shorts, so I did buy those new, but she did have some second-hand, some pre-loved tops. Same for me, so I had some things that I kind of used as kind of like a sarong type thing, things that I already had in the house that I was using for a different purpose. So it's kind of repurposing pre-loved. We did buy some things new, but I tried to keep it as a much smaller percentage, so we can do these things. It's just a case of you've got to factor it in. You've got to allow yourself more time if you're using a charity shop, because it's not like to a department store where you've got 50 different items of the same type. So you've got to plan it in, but we can do that. Just have a little wander around on a Saturday and and sometimes it can be a real kind of treasure trove of options and things you don't expect to find. You think, wow, this is amazing.
And also if you are time limited, it doesn't rule charity shops out, because you have got online charity shops.
That's true.
Such as Oxfam, where you can shop online.
Good point.
Through a charity shop in the same way that you can shop and buy brand new.
And you've also got, if obviously charity shops cause brilliant, I would say on a personal level, if you can choose a charity shop, because then you're kind of having like a greater win overall. But you've got other things like eBay, Etsy, what's that other one that I can't think? Vinted. All of those things you can get pre-loved, and you could just get some amazing options, things that you wouldn't find anywhere else. You could you could end up with, if you want to be the belle of the ball, and I'm not suggesting people should want to do that, you could end up with something that's people, where did you get that from? Oh, well, I got it, pre-loved. Pre-loved doesn't mean you're getting something less. It very often means you're getting something so much better than off the shelf kind of fast fashion.
And it's also another alternative if you do need to watch the pennies, because you can, rather than take your clothes to charity, if you've got the time and you want to raise some holiday funds, you can sell your own clothes on these apps.
You can do swaps, clothing swaps with friends. There was one in a local village this weekend where everyone who wanted to take part took their clothes, and it was, you swapped, maybe for nominal charge, I don't know, but there's things like that. You take them to children and baby banks, they're always crying out for clothes.
Yeah, that's true.
Because children grow so quickly, they don't get the wear out of them.
No.
And there's nothing wrong with them when that child's grown out of them.
They might not, sometimes they might not wear them at all, because you bought them, and then by the time they come to wear it, they've already grown out of it.
And that's just reminded me, Carol, with you saying about the baby banks. Also, if you do have stuff that's still in wearable condition, but you don't feel it's good enough to be sold in a charity shop, then you can look at things like community clothes rails. So get onto social media and see what you can find there.
Or start something in your community.
That's another thing. If you
find a space, speak to people.
Absolutely.
Start something.
If you're keen and you've got the capacity, that is a perfect. If you don't have
a few people,
absolutely. If you don't have something local to you, or even if you do, start another one. It doesn't matter. If there's lots of options for people, that can only be a good thing.
You go on media. There's people, helping the communities with all these different things, and you could just message them, and they'll point you in the right direction. Which people are taking. You can do fantastic repairing, following YouTube clips where you're making flowers in. You're covering a hole with a flower and you're embroidering. It's very clear, step by step. You can take something and reinvent it.
Transfer it to something.
With
transform.
Just with some embroidery silks.
Or fabric paint. That's something that's on my list.
So many things you can do with it.
Definitely.
I think that's really interesting.
It is, and I really hope that people listening will feel inspired, and I'm sure they will from the things that we've talked about today. That there are so many options. We're not actually limited at all. Really, I think in many cases we're only kind of limited by the limits that we set for ourselves. We don't think there are those options there because we haven't looked and we don't know.
We allow time to limit us.
Yes, that's true.
But we do need to give time to prolonging the life of textiles.
Definitely.
And asking, do we always need to buy new?
When a garment's been made, when the fabric's been sourced, it's grown, sourced, made, that's its carbon footprint. So if you then take that garment, that fabric, and turn it into something else, you're not adding to the carbon footprint.
Yes, whereas if you buy new, it's more carbon
because
footprint.
That's been produced, flown across the world.
Absolutely.
So it's just thinking about.
That's it. So if you are conscious about your carbon footprint, buying brand new is a much bigger contributor.
Absolutely.
To carbon footprint.
Massively, and especially if you're someone who perhaps you're in a position to maybe purchase quite a lot of textiles. I mean, that imagine the impact there if you're constantly buying new. So pre-loved is It doesn't necessarily have to be pre-loved. Obviously, you've got different types of more ethical textiles that, you know, are grown, you know, in where countries are, you know, they're looking at, like, you know, their carbon footprint. So there are more kind of ethical solutions when you are buying new, but sometimes there's a big price tag attached to that. In fact, there usually is. So, yeah. Oh. Amazing. Well, I think we've probably covered everything that we said we wanted to talk about today. So thank you so much, Carol and Alison, for your time. Very much appreciated. It's been so interesting, and I really hope that everyone listening has found it interesting too. So that brings us to a close. Thank you so much for listening, and bye for now.